When Marcy stumbled upon a mysterious thumb drive secreted beneath the mattress whilst refreshing Emma's bed linen, we were both perplexed. Our daughter was a mere 5 years old, still grappling with the most basic functions of a laptop. So why was a thumb drive secreted in her bed? And why the secrecy? As parents, it was natural to jump to the worst conclusions. The moment Marcy conveyed the discovery to me, my mind was immediately besieged by countless unsettling scenarios. By the look on Marcy's face, I could tell her thoughts mirrored mine. Despite our swirling concerns, we managed to keep our cool. We decided to investigate the contents of the thumb drive only after Emma had drifted into her nightly slumber. We resolved not to broach the topic with Emma until we had a grasp on the situation. Around 9 that evening, Marcy ushered Emma up to her bedroom. When Marcy returned 20 minutes later, I had already inserted the thumb drive into the television set in the living room. Settling on the sofa, we both navigated to the correct interface. A single folder, dubbed Mushy's Barnyard, emerged from the drive. Upon opening it, we found 4 video files. The thumbnail for each showcased a cow-themed hand puppet on a backdrop resembling a farm, with each episode lasting around 20 to 24 minutes. We initiated the first episode and watched for a few minutes. The puppet, Mushy, discussed the alphabet, colors, and a handful of other typical children's show themes. Marcy and I simultaneously exhaled in relief. "So, it's just a kiddie show," Marcy noted. "Thank heavens," I responded. "I wonder why Emma felt the need to hide it." Marcy considered. Perhaps it's a gift from Claire's brother? Claire Wilson, Emma's closest pal, resided a few blocks away with her parents and elder brother, Jason. My understanding was that Jason was somewhat of a layabout. Approaching 30, his days were mostly spent sequestered in the Wilsons' basement, engrossed in video games, cannabis, and alcohol-fueled gatherings with his pals. "What are you implying?" I asked, a twinge of anxiety creeping back. Marcy chuckled lightly. "Oh, nothing sinister, dear. It's likely Claire's been enjoying this Mushy's Barnyard on her TV and has been recommending it to Emma. And since we no longer have cable," she pointed at me in a mock-reproachful gesture, "Emma doesn't have access." Rising to her feet, Marcy stretched, the universal symbol for time for bed. My guess is that they approached Claire's brother for help, and he downloaded it illicitly. He might have even confessed the source, leading Emma to keep it hidden. Marcy's hypothesis seemed plausible to me. It was a coherent narrative and, even after viewing it from various angles, no flaws emerged. Case closed, it seemed. Marcy removed the flash drive from the TV, tucking it into the miscellaneous basket atop the fridge. We briefly discussed our strategy for addressing Emma about the matter, deciding to focus more on the act of hiding rather than the unlawful download. After that, we retired to bed. In the early hours, I awoke with a sense of unease lodged in my stomach. Despite the rationality of Marcy's theory, something didn't sit right. I reached for my phone on the bedside table and searched for Mushy's Barnyard. No results. The feeling of unease amplified. I opted against waking Marcy. It was past 4, and she needed to rise for work within an hour. As quietly as possible, I crept out of bed, headed to the kitchen, retrieved the flash drive from its resting place, and plugged it in again. The first episode resumed as before. Alphabet, colors, singing, dancing, the usual. As the episode neared its end, my unease had nearly dissipated. I had been overly cautious, it seemed. But then, the script flipped. Time for my favorite segment. Mushy sang in a high-pitched voice. "It's time to play Let's Help Annie." A woman materialized on the left side of the screen. Her hands were so tightly bound with rope that red indentations were visible on either side. The rope extended off-screen. Her greasy hair and overall disheveled appearance indicated that she had not showered in weeks. Fear was evident in her eyes. I muted the television and leaned in. This woman, Annie, her very presence was abnormal for a children's show. Merely her appearance could instigate nightmares in Emma. "This is Annie, boys and girls," He announced. "Annie's in trouble, and it's up to you to assist her." The farmers accuse her of stealing corn, and they say the only way they'll free her is if you help with a few tasks. A soft whimper escaped from Annie, and I noticed the rope constrict around her wrist briefly, prompting her to wince. "What the farmers want you to do," he continued, "is help them with their mouse problem." He pulled out a gallon-sized plastic bag and laid it on the bench in front of him. "All you need to do is catch a mouse. I like to use cheese or peanut butter, put it in a plastic bag, just like this one, and seal it as tight as you can. If enough of you boys and girls do that, then Annie will be just fine." I looked at the TV in awe. What was this? Why were they making children kill mice? And who the fuck was Annie? I'll see you on the next episode, boys and girls. He sang as a little tune played in the background. The video ended. After that, I watched the last 5 minutes of each of the other episodes, fast-forwarding until Annie came into picture. In each episode, she looked skinnier and dirtier. Cuts and bruises appeared on her forearms and shoulders, and by episode 3 she was limping. In each episode, when he introduced the "Let's Help Annie" bit, he explained that not enough kids had done what the farmers asked. It was the boys' and girls' fault that Annie looked worse in this episode. And in each episode, the farmers' demands got more worrisome. In episode 2, he tells the kids to run away the next time they go to a store with their parents. In episode 3, he asks them to go out late at night, after their parents are in bed, and walk around for a bit. Both worrisome, sure. But episode 4 is the one that sent me flying up the stairs to wake up Marcy. It's a wonder that she understood anything that came out of my mouth. I was panicking, and it all came out like water from a busted hydrant. She rubbed my back to calm me down, but I could see that panic was starting to strike her too. Together, we went into Emma's room and woke her up. "We found the computer stick under your mattress, sweetie. We wanted to know, where did you get it?" Marcy asked. "Claire gave it to me," Emma responded, still rubbing the sleep from her eyes. "Where did she get it?" "I don't know, Mommy." "Have you watched it? Has Claire watched it?" "I tried to, but Annie was too scary." "I didn't kill any mice, Mommy. I swear." Emma's eyes began to glisten with tears. "Am I in trouble?" "Absolutely not, sweetie, but I need you to tell me. Has Claire watched it?" Emma nodded. "She said she watched almost all of them. She was gonna watch the last show tonight." Marcy's head began to turn towards me, but I was at the top of the stairs before we made eye contact. Within a few seconds, I was out the front door and sprinting down the street towards Claire's parents' house. When I got there, I noticed that their front door was cracked open. Not much, only about the width of a broom handle, but enough to confirm my fear. I didn't have a weapon on me, and I couldn't find anything in the yard. I'd even forgot my phone on the coffee table. As I sprinted back to my house to call the police, I knew I was too late. The police confirmed it shortly after. In the last episode of Mushy's Barnyard, he says, "Good job, kids. You helped Annie. The farmers have decided to let her go, all thanks to your hard work. All you need to do is, after your parents go to bed, of course, call the number at the bottom of your screen, say your address, and unlock your front door. The farmers will drop her off at your house and she'll be safe and sound." Usually when I tell people that I once got abducted and turned into a doll, nobody believes me. It's easy to write off as a nightmare, especially since I only remember bits and pieces of it. Yet whenever I replay the experience in my head, there is this profound sense of realism to it that you simply cannot convey by word. That's how I know it truly happened, but also that maybe no one else ever will. While I don't know anything about the abduction and transformation itself, I vividly recall what it felt like to be a doll. It was like my skin had turned into a cage. I couldn't move, I couldn't speak. Hell, I couldn't even blink. There was the growing need to breathe that, try as I might, I could not meet. My nose wouldn't let any air in and my mouth was sealed shut. I felt my chest grow tighter and tighter, my lack of oxygen bringing me closer to unconsciousness with every second that passed, but I never passed out. I never actually suffocated. I waited for death, but it simply wouldn't come. Instead, the pain merely became worse. It didn't reach one level and stay there, it only grew and grew, giving me no time to even adjust in the slightest. I wanted to cry, scream my lungs out, but I couldn't. My eyes, though wide open, were practically blind. If there was anything but utter darkness around me at the time, I couldn't see it, just as no sound ever reached my ears. The air smelled of absolutely nothing, I couldn't tell whether it was hot or cold where I was at, and there wasn't even a hint of any kind of taste in my mouth. I was deprived of all my senses. I only realized that upon somehow managing to take my mind off the agony that was my breathlessness. Meanwhile, my eyes had been drying out, and since I could neither shut my lids nor produce so much as a single tear, there was no way of relieving them of the burning sensation gnawing away at my corneas. The odd position my body was locked in sent throbbing aches through my back, exhausting and wearing me down even though I wasn't moving at all. I don't know for how long I remained like this. It was less than a day for certain, but perhaps not by much. It felt like an eternity though. My mind was racing with never-subsiding panic, the fear and anguish nearly driving me mad and leaving only a tiny part of my brain calm and reasonable enough to think about what was going on. I wondered where I was, if any of this was really happening or if it was all merely the most god-awful nightmare anyone had ever had, if I'd died in my sleep and this was hell, and, if so, what in the world I had done to deserve it. I was asking myself that very thing for about the 100th time when all of a sudden, my rigor was lifted and I collapsed. I gasped for air, sucking in so much that I almost started choking, the feeling of my chest widening close to heavenly. Every joint in my body seemed to have caught on fire, but the sensation was a good one, and once it ebbed off a little it left behind a wonderful tingle. My eyes were met with light, dim and soft and warm, and when I felt somebody touch my arm and I looked up, my darkness-plagued mind readily welcomed their image before me. The creature I saw was no person. It looked like one, yes, but it was too radiating to be normal. It had an unnatural iridescence, making it appear intimidating and soothing at the same time. A man's features in the face, but its body too flat and soft and delicate to look human in the slightest. To this day, I don't have the words to describe it. It had hair, long and golden and as thin and fine as cobwebs. Its clothes were stranger yet, giving the impression of a costume with how oddly they were cut and how much they sparkled. They were largely silver and blue, but there were also some other colors in there, colors I'd never seen before and most likely will never know the name of. Calling it him or her wouldn't do it justice, it'd humanize it too much. Maybe I was still under the influence of my near-death experience at the time, but at first, I actually thought I was seeing some kind of angel. Its voice sounded like the echo of a breeze. "You didn't deserve this. You didn't deserve this. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. Can I touch you? Can I pick you up?" It took all my strength to nod, and once I hung my head, it stayed down, despite my efforts to crane my neck and keep looking at the creature. When it bent down to wrap its arms around me, I forgot all about that though. Its touch was the warmest, most soothing sensation I had ever known. It didn't make me feel heated, but it somehow managed to convey care and tenderness without the familiarity normally needed to do so. It was light and cool at the same time, and though its grip on me was technically restraining, it rather gave me the idea that I was floating. When it lifted me up from the ground I was lying on, I felt like a child in the arms of its mother. "What have I done to you?" it whispered to itself as it began to carry me off. We passed so many dolls on the way. I can't remember if they were just sitting everywhere or if they were displayed in showcases. I don't even know anymore what kind of place we were in. We were in a building at one point, then we were outside but it was too dark to see, and then we were inside my bedroom. It placed my limp body on the mattress, tugging the blanket away so it could wrap it around my shaking form. My vision blurred by the tears that had started running freely the second I'd been released. I stared at it. I couldn't say a word, but it seemed to sense that I wanted to hear its voice again. That wasn't supposed to happen, it told me, sitting down on the side of my bed. It didn't creak or even lower under its weight, the sheets didn't wrinkle where it pressed into them. Like it was made out of air. I made a huge mistake. You were never meant to be taken. I don't know how I could mess up this bad. I've been losing my edge as of late, but I never thought I'd be capable of a slip-up this massive. It paused. How are you feeling? Has the pain let up yet? My throat being as dry as it was, I obviously couldn't answer, but I lifted my chin up. The closest I could get to nodding. Good, very good. I'll be frank, you'll likely stay this exhausted for another while. I've never turned anyone back before, so of course I don't know for sure. I gave a weak sound of wonder, hoping it'd understand it as the question I was meaning to ask. It lifted a brow, then opened its mouth a little. Oh. A meaningful pause. It lowered its head in thought. I suppose after what I've done, you have the right to know, not that it really matters. I'm sure you remember the gallery I took you through, where all the pretty dolls were. I forced another nod, my head rolling to the side to better regard it. I made those, all of them. I turned them, like I did with you. My heartbeat quickened at the realization. All those porcelain bodies we passed, all those picture-perfect faces were prisons to people. Actual, living people, stuck in a state of perpetually worsening agony, perhaps for the rest of eternity, bearing levels of pain no one else might ever experience. The horror of this admission was not lost on me. I might have panicked in any other situation, and if the doll maker hadn't looked down at me with those eyes of alien colors, its mere presence having me feeling drunk, I certainly would have. Instead, I remained oddly calm, taking in this information like it was the most natural thing in the world. Why? I breathed, surprised at this hint of control returning to me. Because they deserve it, believe it or not. I only turn a certain kind of people. Basically those who have done something bad in the past, something really, really bad, and got away unpunished. I hummed and turned my head to the side a little further, hoping to press my cheek against the creature's leg, but it didn't work. It didn't even seem to notice. With you, I don't know what happened. There was this woman about your age, and I guess you two look kind of similar, but that's no excuse, of course. Anyways, it was her I was meant to come and get, not you. I thought you were her. Just after I transformed you though, I took another look at her in my files, and I realized I'd messed up. She doesn't even live anywhere near you. I have no idea how I could have been so. It fumbled for words, its eyes genuinely regretful. Again, I am so incredibly sorry. I wanted to tell it that I wasn't angry, that I forgave it, that I would forgive anything it could possibly do to me. I remained too dazed to put any of that into words though. I hope you'll think this was a dream when you wake up, it said. It would be a huge relief. But I want to remember. Don't leave, I muttered. It gave me a puzzled frown. I can't really stay, can I? Stay. You're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, the only beautiful thing. Silly, it merely said in that soft voice, prodding my shoulder before getting up. Goodbye. It walked right out the door, just like a normal person. I was left lying there, stunned, feeling lonelier than ever now that this angel was gone. I was safe, yes, but I didn't want the safety anymore. I wanted the hurt, the agony, whatever the price for seeing and talking to this creature again, I was willing, no, eager to pay. I haven't been myself from that day on. Or maybe I am, but I got confused along the way. Maybe myself changed. I live in a spartanically furnished apartment. All I do is eat and sleep and work. I have a job, but I don't feel any passion for it. It's not paid very well, but I don't need any money. I'm okay just scraping by, and there's nothing material I might want anyways. I read a lot, and sometimes, only rarely, I go out to meet new people. No one's ever gotten away from me before, there's no one to tell the tale. I've been very cautious about everything, and I pick them with care, try to choose folk that won't be missed, that are easier for me to hurt because they're horrible themselves. I don't want to escape judgment, I crave judgment, just not by the law. I'm selfish, I know I am so utterly selfish and cruel, and the guilt is killing me, but my thoughts are consumed by the porcelain angel. I need to see it again, I need it near me. I don't want to do this anymore, though. I can't wait for it to find me, to come for me. Don't worry about me being punished. I'll face the consequences of my actions, and I'll spend eternity in torment, but it'll be worth it. So if you're the one who makes the dolls, I hope this reaches you. Look at what you've done to me. It's not your fault I went down this road, it's really not, but I wish you'd never left me. I wish you'd stayed when I was begging you not to go. I don't know if you're still doing what you do, if you've moved on from Earth entirely, or if you simply haven't gotten around to picking me up yet. After all, I bet there's a lot of bad people in this world who get away with the evil things they do. Maybe some of them do it for the same reason as me. Either way, yours is a busy life. But this has been going on for too long. Find me. Stop me. Change me and keep me. Save me. Please. I can't forget that day. The alarm didn't sound that morning. I found myself in a whirlwind of panic when I saw the 7:27 timestamp glaring at me. In a flurry, I started dressing myself. The bus stop was awaiting my arrival at 7:35 sharp, no time for breakfast or even brushing teeth. In my haste, those were the luxuries I traded for a few more minutes of sleep. Stuffing my books into my backpack, I bolted down the stairs and out the front door. My breath was ragged as I bolted towards the bus stop. As I turned the corner, I caught a glimpse of the last kid stepping onto the yellow bus. "Hey!" I screamed, but my voice was lost. The bus began to move, leaving a trail of exhaust fumes behind. "Hey!" I tried again, flailing my arms, trying to catch the driver's attention. I locked eyes with him in his side mirror. The stern old man gave me a nonchalant shrug, as if to say, "Too late, kid." The bus pulled away, leaving me standing, defeated and stranded. My school was a 20-minute trek from the bus stop. With no cash at hand and zero experience with public transportation, my young mind was in turmoil. I could already imagine my mother's fury once my teacher reported me skipping school. I plopped down on the curb, sighing heavily. A strange sensation gripped me. This was a first, something felt off. A chill ran down my spine, unrelated to the whipping wind. The eerie wind sounded like agonizing screams piercing the silence. My eyes landed on a dilapidated, dirt-brown pickup truck trudging down the street. For reasons unknown, I stayed put as the truck pulled up beside me. The grizzled man behind the wheel, wearing a stained red cap, gave me a toothless smile. "What's wrong, kid?" "I missed my bus," I admitted, defeated. He contemplated my statement. "You need a ride?" I was taught never to accept rides from strangers, but the prospect of skipping school was worse. "Yeah." Clambering into his trash-ridden truck, the smell was nauseating. I reached for the window, needing fresh air. "Sorry, kid. That window doesn't work, and neither does the door, from the inside." The unnerving glee in his eyes made me uncomfortable. "Where do you go to school?" I told him, and we were on our way. A little girl's rainbow bracelet dangled from his rearview mirror, increasing my unease. "Oh, this?" It was my daughter Jessica's. "I think about her every day." His response to my curious gaze was unexpected. What happened to her?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Well, she passed away in a car accident. The roads are dangerous, you know. Especially in this town. Fear gripped me. Was he lying about the door? Should I try to open it anyway? How old are you, young lady? 10, I responded hastily, trying to mask my nervousness. He fell silent. Yeah, that's how old my Jessica was when she passed. My face flushed when I realized he was merely reaching for a bag of chips. You okay? He asked, munching on his snack. I nodded, my gaze turned outside the window. I was taken aback. We had reached my school incredibly quickly. The old man must have known a shortcut. He pulled up to the school's front and stepped out, opening the passenger door for me. I climbed out, staring up into his craggy face. Thanks for the ride, mister. The man simply nodded, gracing me with another one of his toothless smiles. No problem, sweetheart. He climbed back into the truck and drove off. I watched him disappear down the street, trying to make sense of what just happened. What had my 10-year-old instincts been trying to tell me? The man seemed harmless enough, or I wouldn't be standing here in front of my school. Shaking my head, I entered the building. As I walked in, I was met with an odd sight. All the teachers were in tears. It wasn't until later that I discovered why. The bus I was supposed to be on never arrived. A car had unexpectedly veered into the bus's lane, causing the driver to swerve off the side of a bridge. There were no survivors.